What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the morning movie chat. I am your host, Trinity. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Second Street Marvel. I do greatly appreciate all of you being here for, just to watch me sit here and flap my gums and interact with you all and talk about some of the things that I love most. And that today is, of course, movies. But before we get into what we want to talk about today, don't forget, guys, that today is New Comic Book Day at your local comic book shop. New comic books release every single Wednesday at your local comic book shop and online. If you don't have a local comic book shop near you, you can always look to things like God, what's that service out there? See, I don't use these things like Comixology. You can also get on Marvel.com, DC. Most of the publishers seem to have their own way of doing digital distribution. So make sure that you go out and check out your local comic book shop and check out some of the new comic books that have come out today. I actually got one that I was here in the middle of reading a little bit earlier that I need to finish, but that's Jessica Jones' Blind Spot. This is like some new. I'm guessing it's just going to be a miniseries, but oh, look right there, parental advisory, not for kids, not for kids. I wasn't completely aware that comic books were for kids, but apparently they are. So we've got to mark them not for kids. So yeah, I've got to get that one read. It's a new little mini series being written. Looks like it's being written by Kelly Thompson, which will probably get some people on board with wanting to read it, right? Yeah. Oh, check this one out too. Got this Napoleon Dynamite issue number 3. Ooh, I still have to do reviews of issue number 1 and 2 here on the channel. But yeah, guys, I want to say good morning to you all. Thank you all so much. Now, today we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna dive into a whole bunch of Black Widow theory. Just some different things have come to light. I've been talking about some Black Widow theories here on my channel over the past couple of weeks. Just some of the things that I think are going on out there in the MCU, and we're going to talk about those today. But before we do, let's go ahead and get into the live chats. Now, the one thing I do want to let you guys know, in case you guys don't know already, there at the in the description here at the very top, you can see there are some links if you want to send direct donations. Nothing required. You can also send super chats. It's no big deal. I'm going to be sitting here flapping my gums regardless. But all of these live streams are being brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters. You can see all of their names scrolling across the bottom here. And basically all of the live streams that I do here on the channel are brought to you by these awesome sponsors. So, well, I guess they're not sponsors. They are, they are kind of the lifeblood here over at the Second Street Mall. Thank every single one of these people for helping keep the channel, I guess, afloat. I mean, otherwise I'd just be a guy sitting here talking to his computer with you guys, right? But yeah, some of that stuff is going to be some of those funds, like from the super chats and from the Patreon, are being used to upgrade the experience here on the channel. A lot of the Patreon money is going towards paying for StreamYards for when I do shows that we bring guests on. It's a better experience than what I have been using, which was just using OBS and Skype. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Let's see, we got LB at the Lonely Banter again, my brother. Yesterday, and I meant to message you. It's been a crazy day here, and yesterday. But I'm gonna message you. I'm sorry for yesterday. Tomorrow, if you're not busy, we'll get together. I promise. Promise. Fanjecture, thank you so much for being here. Says down with Trinity. Yeah, and guys, in case you guys haven't, go check out Fanjecture's channel. I was on there yesterday while we were doing the Dark Council, and I was. While we were there on the panel, I just kind of had it off. It's just a voting system that they had on, but it's interactive. A lot of the people were there in the chats kind of interacting with that. I was just there casting votes. I wasn't able to really interact because we had the show going on the Dark Council yesterday. So, yeah, guys, make sure you go check out Fanjecture's channel. Doing some really fun stuff over there. Aggressively Relaxing says, Trinity forgot, but we won't. Oh, man, you know what? Some people move on, but not us. Remember that ad campaign? Z Collects, thank you so much for being here. Hashtag justice for Tony. Oof, no. No, I'm guessing you're talking about Tony Stark there. No, there's no justice for Tony. Z Collects, thank you for being here. I am True Skills, thank you so much for being here as well. And guys, please let me know. Sorry, sometimes I feel like my audio is a little bit too high, so I'm turning it down just a little bit here. Let me know if it's too low for you guys. Because I know sometimes it starts to clip out a little bit, and I don't want that. I want it to sound good. I'm True Skills. Thank you for being here. Maverick Pilgrim, another one of our great Patreon supporters. Captain Pennsylvania as well. The Mandalorian 2000. Thank you so much for being here. Fanjextra says, I used to have Marvel Unlimited before. It was a great app. I use Hoopla now. I haven't heard of Hoopla, but yes, Marvel Unlimited is pretty nice if you want just Marvel related content. The Marvel app is really good. They've got thousands and thousands of comics on there. I've definitely used it for a lot of research and just reading some old comic books. Z Collect says, a little late, had to watch a 2-minute ad for this stream. Support any way you can. Well, thank you very much for doing that, Z Collect. Was it really 2 minutes? I may have to go through and check settings on some of that stuff. That seems a little crazy, man. 2 minutes? Whew. Man. All right. Maverick Pilgrim says, I'm dual live streaming right now. All right. Yeah, I was going to say, I know I've seen you over there on the Den of Nerds live channel. They're over there talking about Star Wars. And him and Josh and Justin are there having a pretty good conversation, which is something, you know what, I want to see more of out of the Den of Nerds. I want to see more, and I know they just recently started their live channel. I want to see more of those shows where they get more panelists, more people on there to have some conversations. It's funny because I was having a conversation with one of my newer viewers here just the other day, having a conversation about things like that, and that was one of the things, his, criticisms of the Den of Nerds, like, oh, Josh is all cool and everything, but like with what he's trying to do, need a little bit more. And I'm like, I kind of agree in that sense, like, and I think that's why they started doing the Den of Nerds live, so they can do more of the live chat thing and do the live streaming and bring other panelists on and get more people on there as opposed to just Josh running us the news on there. And I think that's a great idea. And I know yesterday, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, he even had Darth Lunga on there, or Darth Daddy, if you will. In case you guys don't follow the Great Council here on YouTube, you should make sure that you go and check them out as well. So, oh, dang. Why did we do that? There we go. Okay. Let's see. Who else we got here? Captain Pennsylvania says, I had a Marvel comic app, but now I stream them for free. No. Tara's on Den of Nerds, executive producer. Thank you so much for being here. Again, Tara is another one of the awesome people out there in the community and an awesome supporter here of the channel. Wookiee Supremacy. Thank you so much for being here. He says, good morning, true believers, which is kind of what I said, but most people can't speak and understand Wookiee, so thought I'd let you guys know. Captain Pennsylvania says, had to leave the den, Mav. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. But yeah, you can do the dual streaming thing. Black Hat Cinephile says, working and listening. Thank you so much for being here. I did actually have Black Hat Cinephile. I did have Spectrum out here yesterday, and they checked everything out again. And we'll see how good it works, because they've actually been saying that the tech was actually telling me there's been like a problem just in this neighborhood altogether. And I noticed lately I've seen a lot of the trucks running around. He said, yeah, there's been like just network problems altogether. So, maybe I might have to call Spectrum back up and be like, you know what, you need to give me more just that $35 off if I'm having intermittent service like that, because it's absolutely ridiculous. Snowdub Music and Entertainment says, Jenner check. Woohoo! What's up, my brother? How are you doing? I am True Skill says, stream them for free. Free Injection says, hashtag gum flapper. Yes, I flap my gums a lot. Let's see, who else we got here? Thomas Connolly. Lord Callus, what is up, my brother? If you guys aren't subscribed to Lord Callus, you want somebody that knows their Star Wars lore, go check out my brother, Lord Callus. Absolutely great content creator, and he's just got that butter smooth voice, you know what I mean? It's just really good stuff. We're here, I'm just sitting here being a loudmouth. Let's see. We also got Eli Gray. Thank you so much for being here. Another great new recent supporter of the channel. Terrazon says, I got my Star Wars feel last night. Don't tell Josh. I understand. I totally understand. Yeah, and that was one of the things I was thinking is like, man, I know, like, people are nerds. People love Star Wars. I get it. I like Star Wars too, but, like, at the same time, I'm like, I'm kind of getting tired of all, talking about Star Wars all the time. I want something else. And that's why I'm glad we're getting a lot of these new things out there. We got the Morbius trailer dropped. We got the new Black Widow trailer special look dropped. And then we also got that Bloodshot trailer that dropped yesterday, which I still didn't get a chance to watch. But I also seen there was a Peter Rabbit 2 trailer that dropped just this morning. Who else is psyched to see Peter Rabbit 2? Woohoo! Let me know how you feel about Peter Rabbit 2 down in the comments below. Because I got to tell you, the first one was actually pretty funny. I'm not sure that this movie warrants a sequel, but hey, they're going to try to capitalize on it. Hey, I get it. let's see, Eli Gray says Josh needs a solid co-host or two. Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's the thing about like today, Eli. Today he had Justin on there, which is the guy who is running the Den of Nerds gaming channel, who does a lot of that content, and they were both on the Den of Nerds live because they changed Den of Nerds gaming channel into the Den of Nerds live, and then they're gonna relaunch the gaming channel later. But yeah, he had Justin on there today, and they were having a pretty good conversation. Um, let's see. The Lonely Banter says, you have no control over ads that are shown. Really? Oh, man. Well, at least I made them skippable. They should have been skippable. But I do thank you guys, you do see the ads on there, if you're watching them, hey, thank you very much. That, if you don't have money to super chat or anything like that to help support the channel, watch the ads. Hey, it helps. But I get it if you don't want to sit there and watch the ads as well, because believe me, I hate ads. I hate ads. And maybe maybe what I'll start doing is maybe I'll start. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see about different things that we could do to work around that. But anyway, guys, one of the things I wanted to talk about was some more Black Widow theories. Yesterday I was talking a little bit about it once we got some of that new inside look, some of that new trailer and things out there. And, I want to talk a little bit more because there's, I think it was a couple of weeks ago when I was on vacation, I was talking a little bit more about some of my Black Widow theories. And I think I've got, okay, is it too low? Okay, let me go ahead. Okay, is it a little bit better now? Let me know if it's a little bit better. Oh, okay, look. Man, that better. I see Streamlabs is telling me that I'm dropping frames and stuff here, guys. Let me know if that's how bad that looks. Everything looks good here on YouTube so far. But okay, so now I was talking yesterday and over the past couple of weeks about more theories out there regarding this Black Widow movie. Some of them revolve around, a lot of people out there are kind of disappointed because Black Widow is, as far as we know, is dead in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after she sacrificed herself for the Soul Gem in Avengers Endgame. Well, today I want to talk to you guys. I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to, and please let me know down in the comments if my internet is if it's buffering and all of that kinds of stuff, because it looks like it's not doing too good, but the light's still on, so at least we're still going. So let me know if it's buffering and all that kinds of crap. Well, I'm not sure that there's much I can do about it here, but anyway. I was talking a little bit about Black Widow and just some of her past. In the movies, obviously, we know that currently she has died, and a lot of people are kind of wondering, why are we getting this movie now? Well, the thing is Kevin Feige even recently had come out. Even Kevin Feige had recently come out and said, it wasn't recently, I guess it was a while back now, had said about the Black Widow movie that it's going to take place. It takes place after Civil War. His exact wording is what obviously a lot of people are going to be looking to and kind of dissecting and tearing apart. But I've got to tell you, the one thing that I will say is, he always chooses his words very good. And to me, he didn't say that the movie completely takes place after Civil War, going into Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. I think a lot of it actually takes place in our current time, in our current timeline right now, that they are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think they will do some flashbacks. I think they'll do some flashbacks to kind of help bring you up to speed a little bit of things of Black Widow's history and things like that to go forward into this movie so you understand more of it. I think there's definitely going to be that, but I largely think that it is going to be taking place in current continuity. And in case you guys didn't see my comic book review, I already did a review this morning here on the channel of the Black Widow Prelude comic. Okay, now a lot of times these books don't really give us anything that we don't normally get in the movies, anything to really add to the experience or anything. But occasionally in some of these, we do really get some great stuff that kind of adds to some of the theory building and things like that here. For if you're somebody like myself who likes to make their own theories out there based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, it says dropping frames now. Yeah, it should be coming back up here in just if it's not already. So here's the thing is, I've kind of largely speculated that the reason that Bruce Banner could not bring Natasha Romanoff back in Avengers Endgame is because she wasn't dead. It's because she wasn't dead. Because, recently in the comic books, she was brought back as a clone of herself with implanted memories. And I have a feeling that something very similar to that is going on currently, right now, with Black Widow. And the reason, like I said, is that happens. That's actually happened in the comic books. But not only that, I mean, there could be a whole host of other reasons. Let's not forget that when we get to the end of Avengers Endgame, Captain America himself, Steve Rogers, goes back and once again meddles with time. But let's not forget that time had already been meddled with anyway. Remember when they went back to the Battle of New York and they were trying to get the Tesseract, and Loki ended up running off with the Tesseract there? Okay, that creates a branch reality, and essentially a spot where Loki can go out and do a whole lot of different things and wreak a lot of havoc out there in the Marvel world, right? Jumping through multiverses and different things like that. Because he only got the Space Stone, but one thing I always kind of think is, if you got the Space Stone and you can travel through space, instantaneously and things like that. To me, time and space kind of go together, so he could essentially go to wherever he wanted to, and figure out different ways to do stuff. Plus, he's Loki, right? So I think it's possible that he could have easily went back and changed a whole lot of things in the past, and apparently that's some of what the Loki series is going to be covering on. But let's not forget that along with that those altered futures, altered pasts, let's not forget that Captain America went and meddled with time himself when he went and was taking all of the stones back to where they were. And that could possibly be where maybe he went and got an alternate version of Black Widow and took her there to sacrifice herself, so the current iteration of Black Widow in the MCU could be saved. You know what I mean? Maybe that's, like I said, part of my biggest part of my theory is that that's why Bruce Banner could not bring her back. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this Black Widow comic. Some things I've been talking about here. One of the things I was talking about yesterday is how I believe that did Black Widow have anything to do with Riley? The sidekick or the partner of Sam Wilson, and they were talking about in Captain America Winter Soldier. Sam Wilson was telling them about the I can't remember was it the EX-01 or whatever was the Falcon wings. He was talking about that, and he was talking about how they were basically in the Middle East, and they were going in to extract some information or possibly a person out of this area, the Khalid Kandil mission, and that's where he lost his partner Riley. Well, Black Widow had made some mention about she knew what the mission was, and she says, "Oh, I heard there was a whole lot of RPGs, and they couldn't get any kind of aircraft, even helicopters, in or out." Right? And it made me wonder if she had anything to do with that. Did she have anything to do with that? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that maybe Black Widow had anything to do with the Khalid Kandil mission? And hey, let me know down in the comments below. Do you even know what the Khalid Kandil mission is? I just told you if you don't. But obviously there was more to it than just that. But she also was talking about, earlier in the movie, she was talking about a mission that she was on in Iran where she was going to try to extract this nuclear engineer out of Iran, and her tires got shot out near Odessa, and she got shot. The Winter Soldier had come and he had shot through her to kill that nuclear engineer. Right? Well, for one, what was she doing there? What mission was she on? For who? And why? Why were they after this nuclear engineer? And obviously, Winter Soldier went there and killed killed this nuclear engineer. And I'm so glad that that's exactly what this book covers. It covers some of that stuff. It really does. Now, this book right here, actually, a lot of these really cover stuff we've already seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but occasionally there are little nuggets of gold that you can go and extract out of these for building theories. And this book, in case you didn't watch my video, you should go back and watch it for one. Not right now, though. But it opens up in this scene from the Triskelion there at the very end of Captain America Winter Soldier, where Black Widow Natasha Romanoff was actually impersonating the councilwoman, and her name is actually Councilwoman Holly. and remember she came and she kicked his butt, and Nick Fury showed up and all that stuff. It starts right there. This book, and then we quickly move on to this conversation here between Thaddeus Ross and Councilman Hawley. And what he's doing is he's asking her for her help and her resources to bring Black Widow in, to bring her to justice, because she's a fugitive from the state. Because apparently, she broke the Sokovia Accords, which brings up something else that I wanted to talk about. Is the Sokovia Accords? This was to regulate the superhuman, these superpowered individuals, not super spies, right? So why is Black Widow having to be a part of the Sokovia Accords? Because for one, she's just a super spy. She's not a superhero. She don't have powers or anything like that. So what is her connection to that, and why should she be involved with the Sokovia Accords? Let me know how you guys, what you guys are feeling about that here, and we'll get a little bit more into the Sokovia Accords in just a minute. Okay. Aggressively relaxing says Star Wars fans need to learn how to read. There is so much great content right now if you know how words work. Yes, if only people knew how words work, right? Aggressively. Eli Gray says the trilogy failed as they should have truly made it a 50-50 split between the original and new characters in all three movies. Oh yeah. Good point. Eli Gray says Trinity, hit me up offline and let me know who your internet provider is. I may have ideas and solutions for you. It's Spectrum. But yeah, I'll get a hold of you. Black Cat Cinephile says Black Widow is fated to die 4 years from now, but not dead yet. I don't think so. But very well could be as well. And I've kind of been sharing a little bit of why I don't believe so. Aggressively relaxing says Trinity is skipping every once in a while like Max Headroom. Nice. Well, hopefully it's not now. It looks like it's a pretty healthy stream at this point. Captain Pennsylvania says I think it will be set in different times throughout the MCU, but she's not coming back. If we don't get Steve Rogers, we don't get Black Widow. Well, I actually think Steve Rogers is going to be back as well. But that all plays into a larger theory that I have for, I guess, phase 4 and 5. Let's see, Captain Pennsylvania. I read that one. Eli Gray says Yelena, her sister, can literally take over as the new Black Widow. Yeah, absolutely. And in case in the trailers, we see that there are a bunch of different Black Widows out there as well. We see that they have the whole Red Room training sequence and those things like that. That's what the Red Room was built there and developed for. There's still a young Steve Rogers in 2020. Yeah. I think there is, and definitely could be. Terrazon says Yelena will definitely be the new Black Widow. I think that's the point of the movie. Absolutely, I think so as well. I think she will be. I think she will be too. Black Anchors for Reviews. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see. Captain Pennsylvania says, "Will she be good?" That's the question. Absolutely. Eli Gray says they will probably keep her death a mystery till the next Avengers movie. They are already hinting at Stark's return. Plus, she's going to be doing more prestigious Oscar-contending movies for a while. Agreed. Yeah, I think so. Tara says Eli RDJ is not returning. I have a feeling that just my gut feeling is that RDJ will be back. Probably for maybe not a large role, but I do think that Robert Downey Jr. will be back in a small capacity in a little while. Not to necessarily be a main character, but to be a supporting character and get a nice big fat Marvel check. Wookiee Supremacy says I want a Wonder Woman movie stomping Black Widow into a grease spot. Not gonna happen, because that's kind of unfair. You got a superhuman, against just your average, regular, human being. But that's not fair. But I think you just want to see the cat fight, Wookiee. I think you just want to see the cat fight, because we all know what can happen in cat fights, right? Let's see. Wonder Woman is too suspect a movie to Wonder Woman is too suspect a movie to stomp anybody. I don't know, man. I'm really looking forward to the Wonder Woman movie myself. I want to see it. I mean, every time I watch that trailer, it just looks better and better every single time. Wookiee Supremacy says in the list of movies Marvel plans on doing is one called What If. Yeah, well, the What If series is actually going to be a cartoon series exploring some of the different things out there that have happened in the MCU. And what if, like, I think the first one is going to be, what if Agent Carter had been given the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? Um, Yes, yeah, show on Disney Plus. For the Love of Movies says, "Hello, I can't say I'm in the cinema watching 1917. Woo, well, enjoy that because I heard that was a good one, Kobe. Okay, okay, uh, then we can get Black Widow back now. Yes." Eli Gray says the Accords probably have a clause for non-enhanced humans working as vigilantes with powered characters. It very well could. It very well could. But along with that, like I was saying, here in this book, they're talking about her violation of the Sokovia Accords and General Ross wanting to. Basically, what's going on here is General Ross wants to bring Black Widow in because she was aiding Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes to escape when they were there at the airport in Germany in Captain America Civil War II. And then he dives into a little bit of her past, telling Councilwoman Holly just a little bit about her past. So, this makes me wonder if we're going to see Councilwoman Holly in the Black Widow movie. Okay, so what he talks about here is some of her past, her Red Room training, and who the Red Room is run by. There's some flashbacks here, guys, that are very important. Some things that I was actually working on some theories of, and I guess they kind of confirmed them in a way here in this book right here, because he's talking about how Black Widow ended up getting into the Red Room and into this Russian training program there, and he's right here. He says at some point she attracted the attention of General Dreykov. Do you guys know who General Dreykov is? He oversaw something called the Red Room, which was managed for him by someone known as Madam B. Right? Okay, so right here, there's this is flashbacks. He's in these two panels. They're giving a flashback to Avengers, the first Avengers movie, and then they're also giving a callback to Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, if you don't know who General Dreykov is, obviously right here, the Thaddeus Ross is implying that General Dreykov was in charge of the Red Room, and they're also talking that the Red Room is no more. The Red Room has basically been shut down. Now, here's the interesting thing. Obviously, we know Madam B is the person who was running the Red Room. She was actually made a cameo appearance in Avengers: Age of Ultron. But General Dreykov, however, was actually mentioned in the first Avengers movie when Black Widow is sitting there talking to Loki, trying to bargain with him, trying to figure out some sort of way to help him or whatnot, and she ends up getting him to spill the beans about the Hulk. Remember, she was there having that conversation with, remember, she was the only one that could sneak up on Loki. Well, he was sitting there talking. When she was talking about Clint Barton, he's like, oh, Clint told me all about it. He's like, can you wipe that much red off your ledger? He's like, the hospital fire, General Dreykov's daughter, Sao Paulo, some of these very things that we don't really know anything about. And these are things I've been talking about here on the channel that we may learn a little bit more about her history. Remember, I was, I'd brought these things up before as well, but I've been largely talking about, that what she was doing in Iran around probably the same time that Sam Wilson would have been, and of course, he makes more mention of that. He makes more mention of that exact thing here in this book as well. Where he's talking about the ritual that she had to go through to become Black Widow. He reveals a little bit more about her history right here in these panels, talking about how she came to work with Shield, and from being a Red Room trade operative, and he exactly here don't know how Black Widow came to be in the service of Shield. He's kind of just spitballing right here and guessing. He says he's got a panel in here where it's rumored that Hawkeye, Clint Barton, was sent on a mission to kill her and made a decision and didn't, which is something we learned in the movies. And also, he's here talking about how it's also said that she joined up with S.H.I.E.L.D. because she saved Nick Fury's life, and during the course of all of that, he kind of came to trust her, which is something that's pretty odd considering the way that we learned some of the things about her in Captain America Winter Soldier, where she's there in the truck having the conversation as they were driving to there in what was the base there in Pennsylvania where they were going to? where Steve Rogers kind of went through boot camp. Right there, she was talking to Steve Rogers when actually I think that conversation happened when they were at Sam Wilson's apartment, where he was talking about, hey, she's talking to Steve about saving her life, and he's like, hey, if the tables were turned, would you trust me to save yours? And he says, I would now. They make some reference to those kinds of things in here, where she did save Nick Fury's life, and that's why he's come to trust her. Well, also, he what else does General Thaddeus Ross bring up right over here? Right over here, he's talking about that mission that Natasha Romanoff went on in Iran to get out that nuclear engineer when her tires got shot out near Odessa by the Winter Soldier. And largely, they didn't know that Winter Soldier actually existed. They thought he was a myth up until that point when she got back to base and had a debrief, and they were talking to her about the Winter Soldier. So there is a little bit of that in there, guys, and I have a feeling that the Winter Soldier and Black Widow actually have a little bit more in common than just that. So, but obviously, also here he does make mention that basically her first interactions with Shield and her first mission for Shield would have been that mission where she was going to extract that nuclear engineer, and that after she had got shot, she was given a less tasking job to do, and that was to go spy on Tony Stark when she came in and was was there. Going to get information on Tony Stark when she was there, notarizing all the paperwork when he was getting ready to basically hand over the company, Stark Industries, to Pepper Potts. And that's pretty much a lot of what we learn in this book. And guys, see, I guess I was really onto something when I was talking about this stuff before, because that's one of the things I've been talking about here is, a lot of stuff that we learn in the MCU when they're going to go and do a new movie and things like that, stuff that we want to draw theories on. A lot of those Easter eggs are things that are dropped in small little conversations within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just little things here and there that they sprinkle in there. And, a lot of people, sometimes people would say these things are plot holes. Sometimes I think they're just, largely a lot of things that people don't really notice in the movies, because that's a throwaway line. Nobody's really paying attention to that. Well, here we go, guys. Is just right here, a lot of those little throwaway lines that I look into so much to build theories on and speculate on are being confirmed by this comic book. And also, I just want to point out that this Black Widow comic book is all taking place at that time after Winter Soldier and after Civil War, and it seems like we are in a period between Civil War and Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So that makes me think that if this book is taking place there, that the movie is only going to be taking place later after that, possibly in current times in the MCU. But not only that, and I've got something else I want to circle back to here in just a minute. But I believe that a lot of it has to do, there will be some of it that has to do with that time that's going to launch the movie forward, where we learn a little bit more about that. But something else I want to talk about here is a lot of people are building theories based off, this movie is going to be talking about that time that Kevin Feige is saying, and telling us exactly what Natasha Romanoff was doing from the time that we got into Civil War and afterward, after Civil War, and something that we know what she was doing. That's the thing, is we know what Black Widow was doing during those times, because he is here. General Ross is on here talking about exactly what she was doing at those times, and she was obviously working with Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers, going out and, oh man, where did I put that? And they were going out and finding a lot of the Chitauri tech and everything that had been out there in the world, trying to help prevent things like happened in Spider-Man Homecoming, where we seen that Vulture ended up getting a hold of a lot of that alien tech. And that's where we're going to have to look to the Captain Marvel Prelude book. Yes, guys. This is something I actually even talked about before here on my channel as well. Is this comic book right here, this Captain Marvel Prelude. Okay, we know what Natasha Romanoff was doing at that time between Civil War and Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame from some scenes that happen right here in this Captain Marvel prelude book right here. Okay, right here we see Nick Fury and Agent Hill having a conversation. Well, here's the thing: is General Ross in this Black Widow prelude is talking about wanting to bring Black Widow in for basically going against the government and the Sokovia Accords and aiding Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes get away from the airport there at that time, and that she had some sort of hand in them escaping and subsequently helping get the other guys who were on the raft, breaking them out. And that's what he believes. Well, the people who were actually helping Steve Rogers, who helped Steve Rogers get all those prisoners off the raft, was none other than Nick Fury, Agent Hill, and Klein. In case you guys don't know who Klein is the guy who is basically in charge of the transportation there for S.H.I.E.L.D., which we know at this point S.H.I.E.L.D. has started to crumble. But that's something that Nick Fury actually talks about right here in this book, where he's talking here. You probably can't see it too well. He's talking about the raft, and they're talking about just all the stuff that was going on here with Civil War. Well, here afterward, in this book, this is where we learn exactly what Natasha, Steve, and Sam Wilson were out there doing in the meantime. They were doing their whole little maybe their Dark Avengers thing, if you will, where they were going out there and picking up this Chitauri tech that had been dropped off throughout the world. And that's where we see Nick Fury there having a conversation on the Quinjet with Steve Rogers, and that's what they're talking about. They're talking about here on this mission they actually went out and got this Chitauri dirty bomb and delivered it to Nick Fury so they can go ahead and get and get that tech and get it depowered and all of those kinds of things. So we already know what Black Widow was doing. We have a lot of information here. She was working with Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson, and that's largely why I don't believe this movie is going to take a whole lot of place at that time after Civil War until Avengers Infinity War, because we know what she was doing at that time. She was working with Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers and bringing a lot of this old Chitauri tech and stuff like that, this alien tech, if you will, back under the control of Damage Control and Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. So there's a whole lot of things here, guys. A whole lot of things to unpack. But some of the biggest stuff here is, we're learning. I was talking about the other day also with some of the theories here, and the fact that we know that Madripoor is going to be in the comic books, and recently, like I said, in the last little story arc, not the one that just completed just here a couple of weeks ago with the Web of Black Widow series, but in the series before that, the one that the Soska sisters wrote called No Restraints Play, she went to Madripoor and was hunting down people who were involved in human trafficking. And I think that's something that we're going to be getting somewhat, not that story, but we're going to be getting a lot of that in this movie. If Madripoor is going to be in there, excuse me, I believe that we will be getting some of that human trafficking story in here. And I think a lot of that has to do with this General Dreykov. And at this point, I'm thinking that Ray Winstone, who is actually supposedly cast to be in the Black Widow movie, I think Ray Winstone's character will actually be this General Dreykov. And General Dreykov, as we just learned in this Black Widow prelude book, General Dreykov was in charge of the Red Room. He was the one basically funding it and getting all these Black Widow agents, trained and into assassins and things like that. And they also make mention in here something that we already knew, is that Black Widow was in the MCU born in 1984. And she was orphaned at a young age, and they don't know who her parents are, just like Natasha Romanoff didn't know who her parents were either. But we did learn that in Avengers Endgame. Endgame? Yeah, Endgame. I was thinking it was Infinity War. Yeah, but Avengers Endgame, where she went to Volmir, and Red Skull had told her who her father is. Is Ivan, which we don't know who Ivan is yet neither. So anyway, there's a whole lot to swallow here, guys. A whole lot. So I'm thinking that Ray Winstone is going to be playing General Dreykov. He was in charge of the Red Room, and I think that he's possibly that's where she's going to Madripoor for, is to try to track down General Dreykov. Now the thing is in Avengers, in the first Avengers movie, Loki makes reference to Dreykov's daughter. Interesting, right? So it makes you wonder, what about Dreykov's daughter? And he also talks about the hospital fire in Sao Paulo. I'm not sure that Sao Paulo actually has anything to do with Dreykov. I think he was just listing off some of the different things, the trespasses that Black Widow had had. And so I think maybe she's going to Madripoor to maybe look into some of the human trafficking there, but also maybe Yelena Belova is actually Dreykov's daughter. Maybe she actually went on a mission or whatnot and actually saved his daughter from being put into this Black Widow program, as she didn't want to see her go through the same things that she did. Because in this Prelude comic, they're making speculation that they don't know why Natasha Romanoff ended up leaving. Basically, being a Red Room trained assassin, left the Red Room, who basically works in conjunction with Hydra. They have no reason, they have no idea why she defected. And he's guessing, they're both sitting there, Councilwoman Holly and Thaddeus Ross are talking about, they think that it's possibly because of the initiation that she had to go through getting into the Black Widow program, which, in case you guys don't know, meant she basically, they did, that surgery on her where she could no longer have children. They basically, took her woman parts and trashed them, and she's no longer able to have children, which is something that she talked about in Avengers Age of Ultron. So there is that, and let's not forget about that figurehead that she ended up murdering in that flashback scene as well, on Avengers Age of Ultron. Remember, she was sitting there with the guns, and then you seen the guy sitting there in the suit. He had the little bag over his head, and she, they made it look like she had shot him. Well, I think all of that somewhat ties in together. I'm wondering if she actually went and saved Dreykov's daughter from the Black Widow program, so she didn't have to go through the same initiation and things like that she had to. And that's possibly where this story is going to go to where we find out that Yelena Belova is possibly Dreykov's daughter. And Natasha Romanoff had something to do with saving her and getting her out of the Black Widow program. And also, I think that she'd go into Madripoor for that human trafficking aspect, because I think that's where they got all of the girls that they are putting into the Red Room for the Black Widow program. And I think those little red glowy things, and the same thing that she has in the trailer that she pulls out of her pocket when she's there talking to Yelena Belova, all play a huge part in this. I think maybe these things have something to do with keeping control of their agents and things like that. Maybe it's some sort of serum or something. They found a better way to lobotomize their people, if you will, because that machine they used on Bucky Barnes, that basically fried him and reset his brain every time. That was actually technology that had been developed by Arnim Zola. Arnim Zola, the same guy who had created that new element that Tony Stark recreated. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of this has to do with. This movie has to deal with, is some of these things regarding Black Widow's history and what she's going out there seeking revenge on some of these people for. And who is the Taskmaster exactly? Well, according to these trailers, he moves and fights exactly like the Black Widow agents. So is this agent? Is our Tony Masters the guy that we seen in Avengers Age of Ultron that was there training the Black Widows in the Red Room? Like this guy, that guy right there. Could that be who our Tony Masters is? Is it possible? Is it possible that Tony Masters is who's training all of these operatives? It really just makes sense. Another thing that I want to talk about is in the recent Web of Black Widow series. You could probably see the poster like right up there. See my finger pointing at it. Web of Black Widow. A recent series that came out that was written by Jodie Hauser. In that series, what was going on is Natasha Romanoff was going out and trying to put a stop to somebody who was making her look bad, trying to frame her for, make her look bad for some of the things that she had done in her past, because the Red Room had been taken down, right? The Red Room was no longer. Well, what it ended up turning out was there was one of the characters there who was trying to trying to uncover a lot of Black Widow's pasts, to basically create a need for the Red Room to exist again and bring it back into existence. And I think that's something, I hate to say, but I think that's something that happened in this comic book that might be coming into the MCU by way of this Web of Black Widow story written by Jody Houser, where we see that somebody is trying to recreate the need of the Red Room to facilitate those needs for people so they can bring it back and, get funding, proper funding and things like that. But I don't know, guys. There's a whole lot of things that we could go on and talk about. I'm going to go ahead and hop right here into the live chats and see what you guys think about all of my theories so far. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm seeing I read a lot of these here. Okay. Wookiee Supremacy says, I want Thing versus Hulk. Deadpool versus Wolverine, and Mephisto versus Galactus. Oh yeah, absolutely. And all of those things are possible from a lot of the stuff we've been getting in the MCU. I think definitely so. Sir Nerd a lot, thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciate you being here. I seen you over on the Den of Nerds live earlier as well. Eli Gray says the Accords probably have a clause for non-enhanced humans working as vigilantes with powered characters. Well, if she's aiding, I was gonna say that's the thing. If she's aiding those vigilantes, I would say she's probably aiding and abetting. So she is going against the Accords in that sense. But right here, where is it at? Okay, for one, right here, where's the Nick Fury? Is talking about this. Nick Fury. In this Captain Marvel book, right here, he's talking to Maria Hill. Nick Fury is talking to Maria Hill, and I'm not sure if you guys can see that right there, but he says, plus the Sokovia Accords only restrict enhanced individuals, doesn't necessarily extend to super spies. Very interesting because that he says that. He says, plus the Sokovia Accords only restrict enhanced individuals. It doesn't necessarily extend to super spies. So, largely, Black Widow isn't really part of the Sokovia Accords because she's just a super spy. She's not an enhanced individual in any way whatsoever, as far as we know. Unless she's under the control of those bands like I was talking about earlier. But even then, I mean, if they're having to constantly use that, she's just, I mean, I don't know, maybe Upgrade. Ooh, remember that movie Upgrade, and it kind of looked like the movie Venom. Yeah. Anyway, but I think it's very interesting that he mentions that clear back here in this Captain Marvel Prelude comic book that she's not necessarily bound by that, but she did decide to align with the Accords and things like that. I'm not sure whether she signed them or not because she technically wouldn't have to, so she wouldn't be bound by them. But however, she would have helped an enemy of the state and somebody who was violating those Sokovia Accords escape when they were there trying to get them when they were there in Germany. So yeah, definitely. I'm sure there's something to that, but I guess Black Widow herself wouldn't necessarily be bound to those Accords as she is not an enhanced individual. Eli Gray says, Tara, if you have Disney Plus, there is an interview with RDJ about returning. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Rhino versus Juggernaut. Ooh, yes. Although that's crossing studio worlds there, so we'll have to see about that. Of course, Sony's been playing nice so far. I just want to see fights, absolutely, Wookie, and I know we're all wanting to see Wendigo, and the Incredible Hulk, and the Wolverine. We all want to see that. Eli Gray says, also, the trailer for animated What If series shows Marvel zombies and Steve being a version of Iron Man. Zombies and Steve being a version of Iron Man while Peggy is Captain Britain. Right, yeah, exactly. Terrazon says, I do have it. I just don't think there's going to be a resurrection, maybe from the past. And here's my thing with that, Tara and Eli, is I don't think that Tony Stark is dead. I don't think he's dead. I think we've seen him die, and there's a version of him that died. But one of the things I was talking about before too is in Avengers Endgame is and just largely overall Tony Stark. When Tony Stark invents something, he invents it, and then he goes and takes it on a test run. I don't think, okay, and let me know what do you guys think. I don't think Tony Stark invented time travel and didn't go test it out. I think he probably went and meddled with the past, and tried to put out some sort of assurance program or insurance, if you will, to make sure that they could be successful on their journey. I think he did that, and that's something that he was even making sure. In when he was talking to Steve Rogers in Avengers Endgame, is he's like, man, when we go back and we do this, we got to set everything back right. It's got to be exactly how it is now because I don't want to lose what I have. Because he didn't want to lose Pepper, he didn't want to lose his daughter, right? So I think he actually went back and took some assurances out to make sure that he didn't die and that he could go ahead and live on with his family. And if he didn't, if anything, we also do see at the end that he had that little recorded message where he was talking to everybody, after his funeral and everything. And in the comic books, he actually lived, after Civil War II, he fell into a coma. Now, granted, he was still alive. He fell into a coma, and an AI Tony was operating the Iron Man suit for quite a while. So I think in some capacity, Robert Downey Jr. will be back. And again, just like Natasha Romanoff, because we got all this time meddling, I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. I think if anything, he's lying low somewhere and just enjoying the life, not having to be called into service because everybody thinks that he is dead. But that's just me. That's just me. Um, let's see. Lonely Banter says, "Why are you on your phone for the love of movies?" Talking to. Okay, right. It's probably trailers. Trailers were probably playing, and that's some of the ads before the movies. Captain Pennsylvania says, "I don't see RDJ coming back full time. Maybe AI or a memory." Yeah, definitely, definitely. Terrazon says, "Eli, a voice in what if isn't what I would consider a return." Yeah, not exactly, not exactly. But I think Tony Stark's going to be back. I think he will be. What if the Legion of Doom got a set of lantern rings? I'd watch that movie. Yes. Yes. Definitely. I would too. Sounds amazing. Wookiee Supremacy says maybe Marvel needs to smoke more weed or drink more, but loosen up and get some balls for sure, Wookiee. Yes. Eli Gray says Loki could easily grab an alternate younger Hydra Cap to create mayhem. I have I have some other theories about that I've still got to flesh out, but I think we're gonna see Hydra Cap. That's why I think the next Captain Marvel movie is going to be Captain Marvel Civil War 2. It just seems to make sense. But not only that, I think we're gonna get Enchantress. I think we're gonna get Enchantress in the MCU. There was those rumors going around a while back that we're gonna be getting a female Loki, and that's what's the Loki series is gonna be about and stuff like that. Essentially, what a female Loki would be is Enchantress. All right. Essentially, and I'm not saying she has the same powers or anything, but she can set spells and turn back time and things like that. If you guys want to go back, if you got you got some of those old comic books or even got one of those comic streaming services, go check out Avengers. God, what is it? Avengers issue number 10 from 1967, I think, somewhere right around there. But it's Avengers issue number 10. Go check it out. There's some very interesting things going on there with the Enchantress, with Baron Zemo, with the Scourge the Executioner, with Immortus, who Immortus is a version of Kang the Conqueror. Immortus is he's the ruler of the mystic realm of Limbo. Mm-hmm. Some very interesting things going on here, man. And I've been talking about a lot of these things on my channel throughout all of last year when I started to look into some of this, man. I'm telling you, I've got some crazy theories boiling in my head, and I need to sit down and write them all before it's too late so I can share some of those with you. But a lot of them have to do with the upcoming Thor movie, with the upcoming Loki series, and possibly tying into other things as well. But they all really kind of tie in together. Um, Captain Pennsylvania says Marvel will get there. They will see other studios taking chances and making money. Yeah, I think so. Sunshine on my shoulder makes me happy. John Denver? Wow, wake and bake right to the top of me this morning. Right on top of me. So right, man. Wake and bake, bro. Do what you gotta do, man. Let's see. AFK Bard, thank you so much for being here. Eli Gray says they referred to that time They referred to that time they were rogue as they were the Secret Avengers. They are going to do a proper Dark Avengers. Yeah, Secret Avengers. That's what I meant anyway. I meant Secret Avengers, not Dark Avengers. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying. But they have certainly built up to the Dark Avengers in the MCU as well, which is obviously going to play into the Thunderbolts, which the Thunderbolts plays into the Assault on Pleasant Hill, which plays into Civil War 2, which plays into Secret Empire. And I'm telling you, man, I think that's where we are in the MCU. I think we're there. I think we're there. Um, Black Cat Cinephile says Ivan Vanko maybe. I don't think it's Ivan Vanko. I don't think Ivan Vanko is her father. But I mean certainly could be. I mean that's not the way that it happened in the comics, but that's really no defense because we can see that's not what they do in the MCU. So, but believe me, I kind of thought about that too. Ivan Vanko being her father, but then again, he would have had to been I don't know. I mean, somewhat, younger because Natasha Romanoff was born in 1984, and of course, Ivan Vanko was an older guy in the movie too. So it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say, but they do make a little bit of mention in this Black Widow book about her parents. Wookiee Supremacy says assassins don't need babies. Absolutely not. Eli Gray says he referred to her as Dreykov's daughter. I think. Well, in the Avengers movie, he was asking when he was listing off the bad things that he had done. He referred to Dreykov's daughter about the hospital fire and about Sao Paulo. I don't think that he was implying that she was Dreykov's daughter, which is something that we learned in this Prelude book, where General Ross is saying that General Dreykov was actually in charge of the Red Room. So, yeah, Wookiee Supremacy says, you think Wolverine could cut through Thing? I wouldn't see why not. I wouldn't see why not. I mean, it's the adamantium claws. You can cut through anything. Captain Pennsylvania says he can chip his rock for the sake of him not killing the Thing, but yes, he can. I would think so. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you on that one. Pope Cerebus the First, thank you for being here. Says, see, sexism has been solved. Black Widow is free. That's funny. I'm True Skills says, hey Trinity, listen to this theory. What if Cap went back in time, saved Black Widow, and returned the Soul Stone? I don't think that's necessarily how it works, but what if? I mean, you're kind of thinking along the same lines of I am. If Cap went back and did something, kind of the assurance program that that like Tony Stark would take out, like I was implying, is maybe they get a different version of Black Widow before she sacrifices herself from a different timeline and bring her back into their current timeline, one that is basically aligned with and knows exactly the same things that our current Natasha Romanoff does. You know what I mean? That makes so much sense why Hulk couldn't snap her back. Aside from the fact that, yeah, she sacrificed herself for the Soul Stone, and yeah, we get that. But we're going off of what could be, not necessarily, because we know they kind of break the rules here a little bit. But yeah, I think you're kind of thinking along the same lines as me there. I am True Skills. Yeah, I definitely think that's a very viable option for them to save Black Widow. Maybe she jumped and maybe they went ahead and they tossed a little ragdoll over the side. Maybe Cap caught her and then tossed a little ragdoll over the side. Like, look, she's dead. Give us the Soul Stone. It sounds like a Toons is the Cat skit from Saturday Night Live, huh? But it very well could be. DKOT Star Wars. Thank you so much for being here, James. Hope you're having a very good day. Let's see. Pope Cerebus says Tony becomes the new AI Jarvis. Absolutely, I believe that's completely possible. Wookiee Supremacy says I ought to see if I can get back on Twitter. Yes. Vlad Riot says 1963. 1963 for what? For what exactly? Who is Taskmaster? Well, I mean, obviously, in case you don't know, Taskmaster is Tony Masters, who is an agent. He basically has a photographic memory. He can, like, when he sees somebody fight, he can replicate their moves just from seeing them one time and instantaneously. He's a master of fighting and arts and just the fighting arts and things like that. So like as far as the MCU is concerned, it could be anybody. But at this point, I'm kind of of the thought that Taskmaster is either Red Room trained or he actually is the people who were training the people in the Red Room. I think it's one of those two, and maybe Taskmaster is actually part of that same Winter Soldier program that Bucky Barnes was a part of. Because if you go back, if you go back to the Ant-Man Prelude comic, the first Ant-Man movie, there's some very interesting things going on in there with that Hydra brainwashing tech, that they were using that brainwashing tech on another soldier there, there in Siberia. And that is, there in Siberia is where Hank Pym actually went in there. And you can see in the Ant-Man movie, when they were showing some of those clips that Darren Cross was showing, he was showing, some of those clips, just those, the slideshow that he was showing the people when he was talking about wanting to make these the Yellow Jacket. He shows some slideshows there, and those images were of Hank Pym, Ant-Man, going into Siberia when he went in and found the plans for this brainwashing tech that they had made. And they had this tech before, and they were reverse engineering it. And all this tech was stuff developed by Arnim Zola. But they had this brainwashing tech thing there. The same machine that they were using on Bucky Barnes, probably more of a prototype version, and they were using it on another soldier that was there. And we could see that it was working just about as good as it worked on Bucky Barnes as well. So yeah, there's just like I said, man, Tony Masters could easily be that in the MCU. He could be that character that they were trying to brainwash. Could be somebody that was just a great soldier, just same way, and had potential, and they decided to use the super soldier serum on and things like that. And I actually think that the super soldier serum has something to do with that same purple flower that they have in Wakanda, because what it does for the Black Panther is the same thing that it done for Steve Rogers. And I actually kind of think that Dr. Erskine, part of the way he got his formula to work was probably with that flower that he had got from Wakanda. I think he actually got a hold of some of that, and that's how they did it. If not, he's basically harnessing some of the power of that same thing, because we can see that really what happens is that new element that Tony had created, he didn't create it, Arnim Zola did, was actually created with the power of the Tesseract. Okay, we see that Arnim Zola created it with the power of the Tesseract in 1943, and we see that Tony Stark recreated it with the power of the Tesseract in Iron Man 2. So I think that a lot of this could be developed through those same means. Black Cat Cinephile says Mickey Rourke was in his 30s in the 80s. Yeah, well, I mean, we're not talking about like the actor himself. That's kind of irrelevant. But like the character in the MCU, and the character in the MCU would have still been probably somewhere there in his 30s in the 1980s when that movie would have taken place. Probably, if not 20s or so at least. But yeah, I hear you. Discovery Bay Comics, thank you so much for being here. Vlad Rice says, imagine if Wolverine's blades were lightsabers. No, thank you. um, not really into the whole crossing universes thing there, like that, I guess, or really even within the same universe. DKOT James says Mickey Rourke is 137 years old. Oh man, that's funny. Pope Cerebus the First says other widow Yelena Belova gets subbed out in midair for Natasha. Oh yeah, could be. It absolutely could be. Cyclops can blast through Wolverine's adamantium. Just saying. Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that vibranium is necessarily indestructible. Not vibranium, but adamantium is necessarily indestructible. But yeah, um, it's a Coming to America reference. Oh wait, what did I miss? I must have missed something. I must have missed the reference you were talking about. Captain Pennsylvania says that was his second clone that turned 30. It's the second clone that turned 30. Man, I'm missing something here. Vlad Rice says if she works hard enough, Brie Larson can look like Rourke when she turns 50. Girl needs to do some squats. You guys are funny. James says 18 watching, 14 likes. That's at least 4 of you who need to tickle that like button. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. I am True Skills says, Trinity, I'm about to head out. Gonna go do some laundry. Take it easy. Well, thank you for being here. I am True Skills. I'm getting ready to call it a day as well. Like I said, guys, there's a whole lot of things that come out of this Black Widow comic book, and some of those things that tie into this Captain Marvel Prelude comic book. Some very interesting things that we're going to be talking about here over the next couple of weeks, probably the next couple of months until Black Widow comes out at the movie theater on May 1st. And there is a second Black Widow Prelude issue that's going to be dropping next month as well that I'm sure will fill us in just a little bit more on Black Widow's checkered history, and we'll see if she can wipe some of that red off of her ledger. But guys, that's going to pretty much do it for the show tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel. Now, don't forget, today is New Comic Book Day. Head out to your local comic book shop and support them. If you know, check out some great comic books. Honestly, this week I've got a relatively small pull list. I think I ended up bringing home about 6 books, which is a very small week for me. And man, I can't tell you, I couldn't be happier. Not because I don't want great stories to read, but because you know what? Past couple weeks, man, like these over this past recent history, they've really been pumping out books, and the pull list was about that thick. And now this week it's about like that, and I'm happy. I'm happy. I can do some catching up. Max Santiago says, worth picking up. Max Santiago, is it worth picking up? Go check out my. I did a review for it. For the Black Widow Prelude issue, I talk a little bit more about whether it's worth picking up on there. It really depends on who you are if you want to go check out the Black Widow Prelude issue. But that's all I have for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe, click the little bell and all that good stuff. Also, make sure that you go follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Second Street Marvel because my comic book pull list video will be premiering today over there on Facebook later today for you guys to check out, and it will be here on the channel, probably unlisted for a couple of days here on the channel in my comic book pull list playlist. It's a public playlist, but you can still see some of those unlisted videos when they're in a public playlist. But thank you all so much for tuning in to Second Street Marvel. You all have a very good day. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you all in the next video. Later.